Places.
Right. I'm recording as well. There we go, guys. We're all in. It's nice
Awesome.
to
10 seconds.
Nice to have a multiple chat this morning. I'm quite looking forward to this. Something a bit different. I'm glad you've all done your hair.
Well, I had time. Does that count?
Here we go. And you're live.
And good morning, listeners. Welcome to Kindasound Radio on the Reality Bite Show. And this morning we've got something a little bit different for you. So I've got three of my favourite friends. Actually, it's like my mates this morning. I just thought I'd have my mates on the radio this morning. That'd be it. We're going to do a 2-hour special. But three of my favourite guys that I know for many, many different reasons. I thought I'd get them all together. And funny enough, the subject this morning has come together as the power of I. So I've got Jamie Denyer on this morning, Andy Barlow and Mark Haynes, and they all come from very different backgrounds and do very different things, but they all have one thing in common. They're very courageous men who know how to stand in the power of the I, of who they are. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you all for humouring me and joining me this morning.
No worries, good to be here, Wen.
It's good to see all your lovely faces. So what we were going to do today, for everybody who's listening, we're going to sort of wander around. They all have subjects that they'd like to cover, pretty much all the same, but from different angles. But I just wanted to start with something with Andy this morning, actually, because Andy's just wandered into the world of TikTok recently. And he did something the other morning that has now got him 400,000 hits on one of his videos. It's gone slightly viral. So maybe we should just kick off with you first this morning, Andy. So could you just tell us about your little TikTok adventure?
No.
That makes sense, Alex. I don't tell it as well.
No, well, it's just something my van was going in for an MOT, and I said, "Oh, can I get coffee?" And she said, "There's only Starbucks around the area." I thought, okay, don't like Starbucks anyway, but it's another matter. So I walked on in there and thought, okay, yeah, okay, cool. That's a bit pricey. So I said, asked for my coffee. She said, oh, we don't take cash. I said, why? She said, we only take card. I said, why? She said, it's because of the C word. Not the one I'm thinking of. But when she said to me that, I said, well, okay, can you show me where in your business terms and conditions that it states you do not accept cash? I said, because you made a claim now that you do not accept cash. I said, so I need to see it in writing that you are now a cashless business. And the poor girl said, look, I'm not having to go at you. Please don't think. I said, but I need to understand why you're suddenly going cashless. I need to understand that. So please tell me why. So I got the manager and she went, what's going on? I said, you're not accepting my money. I said, I'm offering you currency and legal tender. I said, obviously money doesn't exist. I said, so I'm offering you this. She said, we can't touch it. I said, why? She said, because of what happened in 2019 onwards. So she said, we don't accept cash. I said, well, show me your terms and conditions. So please, I need to understand this. So she got her laptop out. She got it up, and I scrolled through it and said, nowhere did it say you don't accept cash. Anyway, and she went, well, it's a business decision. I said, so where's the signage? Where's the information in there? And she just didn't know what to say. I said, well, basically, you haven't included it into your contract in terms and conditions, therefore it's excluded. I said, or if it's excluded, it's included. I said, that's the way contract law works. I said, the fact you've not been specific, you do not accept cash, means you do accept cash. Completely baffled her by that point. I said, well, there's my money. I'll leave it there, and I'm going to sit down and drink my coffee. Have a great morning. And I went and sat down. And it almost like they had something alien on their worktop. They sort of looked at it and went, what do we do with it? What do we do with it? I said, it's currency, legal tender, please take it. And they just didn't know what to do. I had my coffee and I walked out. No further issues or anything like that. But it just seems, it's like the little brains were just going, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And as I said to them, I said, look, so you've got to understand, so this is what I do. I challenge things. I said, if you make a claim against me, I will ask for the proof. I'll ask for the evidence, because he who makes a claim bears a burden of proof. And that's how it went. So then I went and sat in the van, did a little video. I thought, I'll just stick on TikTok. I'm only getting about 120 views on my videos. Then there's all boom, it just went through the roof. I thought, oh my God, what have I done? I've created a monster. But that was purely it. I mean, it all came from the heart center, always love and everything else. I always do with everything. But yeah, it just went mad. I mean, the fact that they didn't understand how, if they don't include it in the contract, then it's available to use.
Interesting subjects. And I mean, for all of us guys on here, your views on like a cashless society as well, because at the moment, I mean, my mum and dad carry cash everywhere. They really do. So mum says, you know, she'll use it everywhere. And I do the same. I'm always in my phone. I've always got cash in my phone. I'm not saying I don't use my debit card, because I do for certain things, because I like to pay at the pump for petrol and like random little things like that. But, you know, cash, I'll go and draw cash out to go and spend cash. Because what are the, you know, in all of your eyes, what are the implications for you, do you think, or for society if we go cashless? So Jamie, thoughts on that?
Well, I've got a very good friend that's involved in CAP, Christians Against Poverty, right? So we're talking about this debt management organization that goes and helps people with their debt, right? And some of them are in really, really serious trouble. Now, this organization doesn't go in and just wipe the slate clean and like just get rid of their debt. What they do is they take on all the aggro. They say to all these different companies, listen, you send the letters to us now, right? You're dealing with us now. You're going to negotiate with us now. And so that takes a lot of pressure off of the person first and foremost. So it doesn't, you know, for people like coming home from just being out, seeing one of those brown envelopes on the doormat, you know, it can trigger so much fear, so much anxiety and panic. So all that's gone. But what they also do is they then bring in the plan to kind of get out of this debt in which they're in, and it requires kind of like 3 different accounts. One for like the money to come in, another one for you to transfer money into to cover all your bills, and then another one that you transfer into an account so you know what it is that you've got to spend. And the money that's in that third account, that's what you draw out, and you literally have physical money in front of you, because then you know what it is that you're spending. You can literally keep tabs on it 200%, and then you can budget and you can and it's just so easy to keep tapping with the plastic and go over, you know, budget by £1, £2, £5, £10, whatever, or you forget something and think, oh yeah, I have got that amount in my bank, and then all of a sudden it's you know you've gone well over. So having that physical cash there is a real visual tool. It's a key component to people for staying out of debt, getting out of debt. And if that's not there, people won't be able to, you know, kind of manage their debts as well. And then all of a sudden it's just emotional, psychological and mental carnage.
Which is, I totally agree with that, actually. I'll get Andy to talk about debt as well. I've made a note for that a bit later on in the programme, because that's a very interesting thing. And that's just given me an idea for something actually do with those processes, but we'll get to that at another point. I think
I know where you're going with that one.
Yeah, just you know, light bulbs are popping up in my head every conversation I have. But that money management is really important, isn't it? Because it teaches you about money when you've got the physical cash in your hand. I remember that's how mum and dad taught me and my sister to add up, because we lived in a pub, and the till that we had was just a wooden drawer with money in it. So there was no beeping buttons or anything. So mum would get you to add up, you know, how much 3 bottles of beer and a packet of crisps, and they give you a tenner, and what do you have to give back change. And it developed your sense of not just maths, but money management as well. And it keeps the economy rotating.
And it takes away those precious moments, Wendy. It'll take away the precious moments of giving a child kind of like money for a birthday or money for Christmas. Homeless people that are literally sat there, do you know what I mean? Like money for their needs. It takes away the precious moments, and then that takes away the important human connection, instead of it just being digital and like, you know, just floating in the atmosphere kind of thing, you know. So yeah, it takes away a massive amount of human connection.
It does, Jamie. I'd agree with that totally. I mean, one of the subjects we was going to touch on first thing, it's part of the disempowerment process of society, basically. You know, it's cashless from, you know, all of our perspectives all join into that one anyway. But the main one for me is all about the control system that can be set in behind that to disempower the entire population. You know, when you go completely digital and you take away a format of exchange which is freely given, which cash is, like you rightly said, Jamie, pocket money for kids, tips for taxi drivers, a fiver for the man that comes around and cleans your windows at Christmas, a fiver to the milkman, all the stuff that when we were all young and, grew up with our parents, society was a little different in those days. And, that was a part of the process. It's the gratitude expressed at certain times of the year. And cash is a very, very good way of expressing a personal gratitude, which also keeps it private, an interaction between those two people, a gift of love and joy expression. To go fully cashless, it would just disempower massive waves of the whole population, if not all the population, apart from those that control the systems. Who says what you can have? We've all read into the CBDC sort of ideas of what these, central bank digital currencies want to bring in, the idea and the ethos behind it. And the whole thing, again, is about control, disempowering, and enforcing values that maybe are not for the best of all of us. So, cash in the 80s to us, we're all 80s, 70s, and 80s, we was all working then. We all got paid cash then. Yeah. And if you remember those guys, it was, like you said, Jamie, with the Christian Association, you're working, they have this free process, and you got your pot at the end, and that's what you play with. Cash each week. That's how I used to manifest my own, and manage my own finances. I'd had my pile. There's me money for the rent for my mum. There's if I had little bits and bobs I was saving for, a little save for that. And then whatever I had left, that was me. Go have a pint, go have a game of pool with my mates, buy some sweets for my niece and nephew, whatever. It's just, it keeps that freedom. To take cash away takes away a form of freedom that we all possess now.
Andy, what was you going to add on that?
Not a great deal, really, because they covered over all the bases. But the fact is, it's taking away substance. Like you say, it's disempowering people. It's putting people that they can't budget. I mean, I do remember my first wage packet was a little brown envelope, and I had like £15 and six pence or whatever it was. And for me, that way, I knew how to budget. And if you got the cash in your hand, you know that's all you've got. I mean, my dad always brought me up and said, if you don't have the cash in your pocket, you can't afford it. Whereas now it's just so easy to have it all electronic. You can just go and tap, like Jamie said, tap, 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 tap on there. But you just don't, there's no way of real budgeting. And that's what they're counting on. They want people to get further and further into debt. Yeah. And then they want you to pay debt with debt all the time. It just frustrates the hell out of me. But my biggest fear at the moment, if we're talking on this, is what's going to happen in May when the alleged king's going to be coronated, is what's going to happen to the promissory notes and everything that's currently in circulation. That's all going to go. So they've already got it ready that once he's coronated, I truly believe that they'll just say, right, no more cash. And that's how they're going to do it.
Oh, what? Because they'd have to change all the notes over to his face rather than his mum's?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I never even considered that.
No, I've been thinking about that for ages, and I just think that's how they're going to do it. That's how they're going to do the switch over. The minute he's coronated, they'll say you got 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, the amnesty to hand your money back into the bank to exchange it for credits, which is how I think they're going to do it. And I think the way they're doing it is very, very clever how they're doing it. We just got to come up with a better plan. And I think it's a plan where we work together and we start exchanging together.
Yeah, it's like going back to the barter system, exchanging
100%.
value, skills and stuff. I mean, all of us, all respectively, works in our own environments that help people. Yeah. And I know for a fact that all four of us do as much time as we can solidly to help people for nothing. So we're already working within that new world, new earth framework of where we are already giving and receiving without the exchange of commerce and promissory notes. And I'm sure you guys do too, as well as I do. I know an awful lot of people are actually, over the last 2 or 3 years, that are starting to develop their lives where they can actually work around this old system of control and develop some freedom. Yeah. Because not everything revolves around money. We've just been trained and completely programmed over centuries to believe that is the only way we can exist as a society, and it's a false paradigm.
I feel that's part of it as well, isn't it? We're wandering into the sort of indoctrination side of things because people really need to get their head around that to be able to then break out of the pattern. Jamie, you were going to say something a minute ago.
Yeah. From what Andy said there, yeah, I mean, I can kind of totally get with that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was that. Although it may be something a little bit more subtle, because I mean, from what they're saying, like the indoctrination side of things and the suggestion of stuff, that they kind of plant seeds, and they literally groom us. They groom our mind into thinking a certain way. So it's like, from what they've said is, do you know what, as if they're doing us a favor, because it's like, we'll bring this in, we'll look to bring this in and run it alongside cash, but then, I mean, it won't take much for them to say, oh well, this is working the best, and we'll just get rid of cash. So yeah, I'm not too sure if it's going to be like that instant. I know that, yeah, when you look at it like that logically, do you know what I mean? The person that's in charge is not the person that's printed the money. So yeah, you know, they could indeed have an excuse, but it doesn't take away the fact that, yeah, that's how they're going to go, whether it's going to be that instant or whether they think or gonna sell you the dream, sell you the image, the vision of them doing you a favor. Look, we're just going to run it alongside. We're just going to we're just going to test the water. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden say, yeah, this is working better now. But then, you know, this is what I don't get is it's kind of like pushing all towards that, but yet they're making massive claims that, oh yeah, you know, within the next 2 years, you know, there's a very high risk. There's going to be a major cyber attack. You know, so it's like, yeah.
They're already telling you they're planning one.
Let's put everything in the digital cyber pot, shall we? And then come under attack. Yeah, it sounds legit to me. Sounds legit to me. Like,
I mean, this is where I come from as well. Is they're putting out offers to us. They're putting it out to the universe for us, for our free will to go and create it for them. So they're saying, hey, we're coming up with this idea. And it's following on from what Jamie said. We're coming up with this lovely idea. Everything's going to be digital. So life's going to be wonderful. But we will talk about it like we are now, or our minds will then start going, not us, because we're aware of what's going on, but the indoctrinated crowd out there, etc. They're going to go and create all this because they're going to just consent to it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. This whole realm that we're living in is consent based, in my opinion, in my view. And if we give it the weight that the indoctrinated will give it, it will be created. It's how do we get those indoctrinated people to understand that they don't have to consent to this?
By rewinding the whole conversation back to the beginning, back to the who are you, the power of I, the I am, the one. That's it. When you really truly get a grasp of that, the one, the I am, the power of I. When you get a grasp of that, and then you realise with your real eyes that it's all a big illusion, and that you've been part of creating the illusion through just your constant going along with what you've been taught and what you've been told, you can start breaking down the illusion. It's just like the Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yes.
Just like the Wizard of Oz. So on that note, song number 1 this morning. Let's start with this. Haircut 100. Fantastic day. Any reason you've chosen this morning, Ange?
I haven't heard that for years.
Outside.
Because the sun is shining. So I don't know where you
Every day. I just believe, I mean, stuff we're all going through, we've all got our own traumas and everything, but when you wake up every morning, you just say, it is a fantastic day. And it just came to me, I thought, yeah, Haircut 100, one of my classic favourites from the 80s, sort of brilliant song.
Yeah, great way to start off. Sun's shining here at the moment. So Django, if you wouldn't mind then, a bit of a fantastic day, please.
Cool, you're off air.
Nice one. That was really weird because Jamie and Andy just switched places.
Yeah, I saw that.
I don't know what's happening there. There's some weird shit happening in the ether. But yeah, I don't know about you guys. I like the term of that actually, Jamie. I'm going to call it grooming from now on, because I think we need to start shocking people with our language a little bit more, rather than saying you're indoctrinated and you're conditioned. When you say to them, if your child was being groomed, what would you do about it?
Yeah, but do you know what this is the frustrating thing for me as well, that even when you use that terminology for the actual act in which it's meant for, a lot of people still don't care. A lot of people still don't kind of get shocked into it. Why? Because they are so desensitized, because they have just been groomed to within an inch of their life to kind of see these atrocities, to see this stuff, and then all of a sudden think, oh well, what's for tea? I'm going to make stuff for tea, or listen, I've got a gym session later on, and then it goes back to that. So yeah, it's a big thing for me, because I was having a debate on social media just a couple of days ago about everything that's being shown from kind of satanic music awards to pop stars that are kind of really showing who their allegiance is, and it's like, I'm talking about this energy, and this woman put up this post about this satanic hotel that is literally like they have spent money and time on this thing. Like, the craftsmanship is unbelievable. You should see the statues of Baphomet. You should see the statues of Baal. You should see the statues of these people, of Moloch and all that game. And then, like, I'm saying, like, this isn't funny. This isn't funny. Like so, oh, I want to go there. I want to go there. And I'm like, this isn't funny. Like this place is obviously here to create like the demonic energy, and it's like the people that go there, they make, and I'm saying, look, I'm not being funny, but from what I know and kind of the people that I'm connected with, I know that this place hasn't just been built for people to go and stay. Like, that's a place of worship, and that's a place that I think goes very, very deep and dark and very, very sinister. So and then I'm being told to chill. Then I'm being told to stop fretting, and I'm saying, no, like, I can't. And then I was being called obsessed. Then I was being called paranoid. And I'm saying, listen, listen, I'm glad I am how I am. Listen, you can call it obsessed. Like, I'm just calling it care. And then this woman said, yeah, but people don't care. And I said, there's the problem. There's the problem right there, that people
20 seconds.
don't care. 3 words that sum it up. And that can be right across the board. So no matter what kind of words you use, sometimes you can't shock them.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a shame on some levels, because I know we're going to split dimensionally, because so many of us are raising the frequency and some are staying down. There's going to be a certain
Kindasound
point
Radio,
where
the
the timeline
station for a
split,
global
they say there, we
community.
go there. So,
And you're live.
and welcome back to Kindasound this morning with my 3 lovely guests. We have Andy, Jamie and Mark on the show. We're going to be talking all things I am, the power of I, and I am again, really. Pretty much it's all about I this morning. Trying to get you guys waking up. We were just having an off-air conversation, actually, and I thought it was quite interesting. It was about the language you use about things, and where the conversation ended was, but people don't care. So I said, I always talk about indoctrination. So our whole education system of schooling was designed literally to create workers that follow orders. So you're conditioned. I don't know if anybody, actually, Pavlov, from what I found out recently, didn't do these experiments, but I'm going to use Pavlov and his dogs as an example. So the basis of conditioning is that you do something. So the example would be with Pavlov. They said that he would ring a bell and then feed his dogs, and then ring a bell and feed his dogs, and ring a bell and feed his dogs. And then what would happen at the end is, when he rang a bell, the dogs would salivate, thinking they were going to get food. And this is the same as, this is how I view the education system. They ring a bell in the morning, you sit down. They ring a bell, you go to class. They ring a bell, you sit down. They ring a bell, you move again. You have to put your hand up to ask permission to do anything. If you don't get something right, then you're reprimanded. So you're taught, to live in a bit of fear. You're taught to compare yourself to others. You're taught to feel bad about the self, maybe squash your light down. It's all about dimming that light. All those sayings that we had, don't get too big for your boots, and all these sort of things, that they all came in to dim your internal light, put you into a little conditioned box that takes away your creative thinking, that creative, this is my opinion, by the way, that creative part of you that allows you to explore your soul purpose, whatever you might think it is, your potential in life. And it creates within you those little loops and patterns of thought and belief that then hold you and limit you throughout life. And then when we get into experiences like we did in 2020, where someone on a TV box tells you that now, for your safety and the safety of other people, you must stay in your house, or else, the majority of the population just went yes, nodded their heads, and didn't use any critical thinking processes whatsoever, did no research. I know I'm sat here at the moment looking at 3 researchers. So I know that I'm looking at 3 critical thinkers, 3 connected beings who research everything they're talking about. None of what these guys are talking about has just come out of, their backside, basically. They look into things. And this is what I found was absolutely baffling. The first time I walked to a supermarket and saw people queuing up outside, 6 foot specifically outside of each other's energy zones, away from each other. And I just thought, I need to go in the shop. I'm going in the shop. And I walked in the shop and was challenged a couple of times. We just said, look, mate, I'm going shopping. I'm not involved in this. And no one knew what to do with me because I wasn't doing what everybody else was doing. And they were all a bit baffled by it. And this is, you know, the thought on, if you were, as you said earlier, Jamie, you used the word grooming. So we're that, basically that process is grooming. So if any of you out there who've got children, if you knew your children were being groomed by someone and what that word means in the sense of paedophilia, you know, you'd be doing your nut. You really would. You'd be doing everything to protect that child from that environment or that person or that organisation or whatever that you could possibly do. You've just got to realise that that word is applicable to you now, because we have all basically been groomed. So your thoughts on that, Andy? What are your thoughts on that?
It's true. It's when Jamie came out with it, I thought, yeah, I use different words, but I thought that's because that's the way I've always worked. But with what I do now, is the wording is becoming stronger. I'm starting to say, no. These are my words now. I'm going to use them, and I think we're right. We've got to start. It's a bit like shock and awe. It's about time we need to start letting people know that, come on, guys, stop being that little you and following along and just keep doing that. We've got to start. I think we do have to start creating that bit of a shock in their system and start waking people up a little bit quicker and saying, guys, look, you are going to create this universe that you do not want, yet you're quite happy going along with it. So you are being groomed. Yeah, I totally agree with it.
I would like to say as well on that point as well, because this is I don't know what your guys' belief systems are around this, but I truly believe, after so many experiences I've had and different like lovely teachers that I've had that have showed me different things in the quantum realm, I truly believe that there are multiple dimensions that run all simultaneously with each other at any one given moment. And what all I think is going to happen, and this is what it is a concern to me, it's not something that keeps me up at night. This is why I would like to do my best to help as many people become aware of what is going on, just so they can make a different choice in how they behave and how they feel. It's more about how they feel, because we live in stress. You know, these monitors I put on people when I'm doing work with them coaching wise, people will come in and they'll go, I say, are you stressed? And they go, no. I'll put a heart coherence monitor on them and they're off the chart. And they'll go, well, I don't feel stress. And it's like, no, because it's normal to you. We've been taught this normality of stress, of fear, of anxiety that runs at this. It's not normal. We should be in love, joy, happiness, you know, the other stuff. So I just think dimensionally, all that's going to happen is when your energy increases and your light force increases, whatever you want to call it, you're going to slowly start shifting dimensions. And these other people that are staying in fear are just going to stay over there and we're going to lose them. We just won't see them anymore. They're going to, you know, this is what I'm feeling is going to happen. I don't know what your opinions on this. But I think they're going to drift off. And that to me is quite sad, because I think I'd like these people to come with us and experience the other side of things energetically, not where they are now. What are your opinions on that, guys? Mark?
Yeah, it's, what was it, the calling of spiritual commit, the bifurcation, the splitting of the different earths that we're on now, and it is vibration, frequency, energy, frequency, vibration, as you've all heard me talk about before, and we all know about Tesla and those teachings. The modern sciences now, they're all coming into sort of tandem and joining together, that we're joining with spirit, science and spirit, and all that sort of stuff is coming so close together now. So to me, yes, it is vibration, it's frequency, it's belief, it's who you are, how strong your heart is. It's what you're believing, what you're allowing and accepting to become your reality. What do you believe and accept your reality to become? You know, where you set your mind to is where you end up. You know, if you believe the world may become a disastrous, absolute World War III, complete Armageddon state, then that is very, very likely, if you're in that vibration, an experience you may experience in a timeline. But if you keep yourself vibrating, you keep yourself high, you keep yourself in harmony, service to others, you know, service to self as well. Without the service to self, you can be of no use to others. Keeping that vibration in yourself, we create new worlds, you know, we manifest by thought. You know, thought becomes creation. And the more of us that have the same thoughts and the same creation about how this world can and will be, the quicker and faster we manifest it as a collective. You know, when you look at the old, so you all heard of the 100 Monkeys effect, you know, remember the old island over in the Japanese islands where one group of monkeys were on one island, and one monkey discovered a way to crack a nut. And I mean, monkeys don't have boats or telephones or planes or anything like that. But within a couple of years, every island in that whole archipelago, every monkey on that island knew how to do exactly the same thing. Because to me, this is how consciousness is shared. Our thoughts go out, they're projected, they join the whole ether of all there is, the we consciousness. Now, the more light that's put into that, the more change comes positively. The more belief into a negative outcome and the creation of a poor, destructive world comes in. So, yeah, exactly what you said, Wendy. You know, it's, to me, how we think and how we process a world we would love to manifest, and how much heart and energy we put into that creates it.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that is true. There's someone I'm going to add to that in a second. But Jamie, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Well, yeah, I think no matter what way you look at it, you kind of come to the same thing, but some things are just kind of explained or described in different ways. Now, myself, because of what you said, you know, you're going to be leaving these people behind, and sometimes that can sound like really out there, right? And that can scare people off, right? People just haven't got the mental capacity, they haven't got enough knowledge, enough education, you know, to kind of really get on board with it. So it's like, you know, it's putting it into different contexts, but it's ultimately the same thing. Now, for me, coming from my angle as a Christian, if it is a case that the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ was to come back and take you to somewhere that is joyful, happy, just absolute bliss, what does that place sound like in one word?
Heaven.
Heaven, yeah. And if you're left behind, in anguish, in pain, in anxiety, and in fear, what does that place sound like?
Hell.
Yeah, exactly. So no matter in what terminology you put it, it's ultimately the same thing. Like this stuff is telling us that it's going to happen. It's just, unfortunately, we're under the influence of people that are telling us what's going to happen, and we do go along with it. It's like, listen, there's no coincidence that when you look at an organization that is steeped in evil energy and controlling energy, and people that are a part of that organization are in positions of power, let's just say one of them owns one of the most and is the creator of one of the most popular cartoons that have ever been. It's no coincidence that cartoon keeps on getting stuff right, and not just stuff right, predictions, like kind of pulling stuff out of a hat. It's telling you massive things, and people going, oh, they're good, what a coincidence. But then, you know, it's like you're sat in front of a box watching a program, let's say, for instance, a film called White Noise, and in that film it talks about or shows you a train that's carrying toxic chemicals that derails in a place called Ohio that then pollutes the land. Oh my goodness, what has happened just recently? Oh, what another coincidence. But then you look at the reasons behind it, that a certain organization says, do you know what? Do you know, if your land and if your water becomes too polluted, you can be forcibly moved from your residence. It doesn't matter if you've paid your mortgage up. It doesn't matter if you're debt free on your house. You will be moved to somewhere else, because that will be the law, because your land is too contaminated and you're going to live in a smart city. This is the thing. But people are under that influence of what's going to happen. I'm looking at other stuff, and it's exactly what you said, when put it in a different way, but it coincides, it connects to what I believe in also. So yeah, we're under influences and being conditioned and ultimately being groomed for certain things. It's just about where you put your focus and what you believe in and what's going and what you think is or know is going to happen.
Yeah, Andy.
Wow.
I
was sitting there listening to these guys, and they're amazing. I mean, for me, it just goes back to simplicity. You own what you create. So basically, if you go and create a negative universe, you have to own that yourself. But there's also things coming out like, I saw a meme the other day about smart cities. When you look at the etymology of smart, It actually means painful, hurtful. I mean, I remember getting slapped on the back on my gran. That's gonna smart you, isn't it? And that's what it's all about, pain. And there's a classic meme. Edit it out if you don't like it, but it basically says when people are happy to go towards a smart city because they believe they're getting something, but if you change the word to concentration camp, that might be a different plan. And this is what it is. They're forcing people into these things, and you're going to 15-minute city. It's just, and like Jamie was saying, certain cartoons seems to be getting it right all the time. It's amazing that, because everything's out in plain sight. It's whether you can decipher what you see. Look at all the movies that's coming out. I mean, Moonfall. You've got all these that Don't Look Up and all this. Like, they're telling you, they're telling you what to do, and like it just amazes me. People go, "Oh, that was a really good film," and I'm sitting there going, "What? Really? You think?"
Andy, may I interject on that, and I can put a very, very good visual over the top of that for you. It's Hunger Games society on a miniature scale, whereas in the Hunger Games it's big districts. These are mini districts. Yeah. Now we all pay attention. We all notice things because we notice things over the years. Now, when the last presidential election in America, when the puppet was put into power, on the at the White House, when they did all the inauguration and the big ceremony and all that sort of stuff, I think when you was aware of this, and I feel we were really, really chuckling in our network groups, because the whole aspect of what they projected there is the show of, when they swear on whatever Bible they're swearing on. But yeah, they were dressed in Hunger Games attire. And it was just like, wow, is this not like pushing it in your face? I mean, I wonder how many people even took any notice at that time then, but that was nearly best part of 3 years ago.
And you could, you can go back and look at that. These are visual images. If you actually typed in that, go back to the inauguration, you would see them all in the same get-ups as what they were. And the funniest one for me lately, before we drop into another song, we should have made this a 5-hour special today, just joy, was the core video. You remember the movie The Core that was made years ago about the Earth's core?
The centre of the Earth.
Yeah, and then it starts causing all this disruption on the plane of existence. I find it so hard to call something an Earth's core and a spinning thing on a plane of existence. But it just made me laugh. Then, what was it, a few months ago on the Australian news, it was saying that they think the Earth's core is
stop the spinning back the other way now.
Did anybody notice the transition? Did you all start getting dizzy in the other direction? It's like
it's time travel, isn't it? It's going to take us back to 2019 again.
Oh, please, well, actually, yes, please do, and we can make some changes. I always see it like, you remember those old what were they called? The roundabouts. We used to put them and get the older kids to spin us really hard. And then they'd stop them and then spin you the other way, so you'd get really dizzy, and then they'd like undizzy you going the other way. And I was thinking, well, I've not sort of stopped at any point and then started feeling like I'm spinning the other way. It just baffles me, guys. Most people say to me, why are you always laughing about this stuff? And it's like, because it is.
Sometimes you've got to laugh or else you'll cry, because it's that serious, it's that big. Do you know? To us, the people that know and can see what's going on, the critical thinking, because that's the battle that we face as well, is keeping ourselves kind of in the game, keeping ourselves on an even kill, because we are alive to this. Like, we acknowledge this and we can see what's going on, and it is hard on us, so we have to kind of really regulate ourselves. But that's the thing, is we have to laugh or else we'll cry.
Yeah, pretty much. Humour gets me through everything. I always say I'm the worst coach on the plane of existence because I laugh at all my clients, but that's what gets them through it as well. Right, so next song this morning, New Order. I love all our song choices this morning. True Faith. Does this one need an explanation, Anne?
It's very spiritual. I mean, just listen to the lyrics. For me, it's like when you listen to the beginning of the lyrics, and it's all about the child, like when they've lost their friend and all this. Like, it's just, for me, it's bang on the money for saying to people, "Yeah, we're spiritual," and people say, "No, we're not." It's just another way of just introducing people to it. I say, but just listen to that song, look at the lyrics, and then understand for yourself, and you'll be fine.
Then you'll be all right. Just tune back into your heart space. We'll all be good. We will get through this, Daffy Moon, as my friend always says to me. Right, Django, if you wouldn't mind, a bit of True Faith by New Order, please.
Cool, you're off air.
Thank you very much. I think it's one of those things, isn't it, with again, we never taught about it's getting people used to this energy thing, the word spiritual. to most people is like a swear word for a start, which has been, you know, obviously done purposefully, but it's getting people back to the realization that energy comes first. Energy creates matter, so nothing in this actual space that we're sat in is real. Nothing I'm touching is actually real. It's a creation from energy into matter, which means that we are, and this I found this so hard to get my head around. It was doing the Joe Dispenza week-long retreat that this really sunk in, because they take you through the quantum field, the quantum field, the quantum field, the quantum field, over and over again until it sinks in that everything's energy, biophotonic light, frequency, vibration. And then as that slows down, and then it gets to a certain level of plasma, it starts creating with your thoughts into the physical, and then that slows down. And then the slower the vibration and frequency gets, it becomes matter.
We are biophotonic beings at the end of the day, you know, like our vessels, our energy systems are like fiber optics, you know. And so, you know, physics is sort of showing that in its own medical essence now. It's proving it to us. So these aren't sort of wary-fairy sort of old nonsense hippie shit. This is actually, you know, factual science that actually this is what we are. And when people can empower themselves and use their power, because it is their power, they're empowered inside, yeah, it's activating that. And, well, you know, we work with energy, a couple of us and stuff, you know. There's many modalities out there now, that there's many coaches and healers out there that can teach people simple aspects that you can manage your own energy system just by touching, belief, and cleaning yourself, you know, cleaning certain aspects of what your energy system is absorbed in from the outer world, that's pulling in, and it's affecting your shield, your light, whatever, whether it be dark spikes here or bits of grey bits there, just whatever it is, that can all be cleaned. Yeah,
John was showing me a little study on the biophotonic light particles in relation to the meridians. He's doing a quantum PhD at the minute, and it was absolutely fascinating, because, like you say, you're just watching like a little light show going on.
It's like code. It's like code. It's literally down at the smallest actual the building blocks of it. If you could physically or, you know, visually see it, it would look like the Matrix. It literally would. It's light. It's coding. It's light. It runs through us. The small, you know, everything in this realm is that, because it can only be that because everything, as you said, Wendy, is created from the thought. So it's the thought to manifest things. It can only come from an energetic particle. So it can only be light that creates it. Yeah,
standing light.
To me, that's just my perspective. You know, there might be scientists out there going, "Mark, you're talking a load of old tosh," but that's to me, that's just my perspective on my learnings, and, you know, from some of the great people we're associated with, and some of the fantastic teachers and people out there that just share this knowledge freely. You know, and like I said, it's undebunkable because it's true, because it's proven. Do you know what I mean? So that's how you discern truth, and when you start moving forward with that reality in yourself, knowing that this aspect of self is true, then you can work with it.
Well, it's a possibility. The I'm possible, isn't it?
30 seconds.
Thanks, Jane. Just briefly, I remember seeing on one of Greg Braden's videos, he went to see some monks somewhere, I can't remember where it was. They don't come down from their mountain they live in. And one of the monk masters, he takes the new recruits up into a cave, and he stands with his hand on the wall, and he just says, "Watch the hand." And then he drops his arm into the wall through rock up to his elbow, and then pulls it out and leaves an arm-shaped hole in the rock. And everybody's like, what the? And he says, everything's energy. And he said some of the students will disappear off and never come back to it, because they're all like, hoo-ha, hoo-ha. But the other ones that they learn to.
And you're live.
And welcome back to Kindasound this morning on Reality Bites, with my trio of guests this morning, talking all things I am and the power of I, and being I as well. So I wanted to wonder, we've sort of done a little bit of, hopefully our listeners now will get a sense that we've all been groomed throughout life to think that we're not all powerful creative beings, and that we don't come from an energetic source. And, you know, that spiritual is a swear word, but we are spiritual beings as well. And so I'm hoping people are now starting to get a sense that there's more to them than what they think they are. And I think that's where we need to be going in society, is coming back to that connecting back with the self and finding that sense of self again, because until you become aware of the sense of self, And, you know, you can't do anything, can you, really? It all has to start with the self-awareness first. So, Jamie, journey into self-awareness for yourself. Had a lot of self here. So
it's all about you, isn't it? All about you.
All about you. So how did that start? Like, I'd like to know your journeys of self-awareness, sort of just in brief. What happened for you, Jamie, for you to sort of come out of the matrix a little bit, so to speak?
Well, the big, well, I mean, kind of like the last 3 years have been like the cherry on top of the cake. But I mean, kind of before that, it's just my natural inquisitiveness, like just to ask questions. Like a lot of people have said to me in the past, James, you know what, you would have made an incredible barrister, because I think it's like, that's my ADHD and my mild autism, that I'm like on the little detail. I'm like the little bits. And it's like, James, if you was in a courtroom, like defending someone or prosecuting someone, you would have been like, hang on a minute, that tiny little bit of evidence there may only be small, but that is like a little drop of cyanide that goes into an entire 5 liters of water that would poison the whole thing. That is the most important component here, like that little bit there. So it was just like my natural inquisitiveness. But I think this journey of becoming stronger, more resilient, more aware to the world and what the world can bring you. Listen, I had been through stuff in my past, you know, like stuff in the childhood and growing up in a very, very kind of a challenging environment with a council estate in which I grew up on. I mean, listen, I couldn't have wished for a better mum, better sisters, and positive role models around me. But, you know, growing up and being the son that I was, the brother that I was, and ultimately the uncle that I was to my older sisters, guiding the children, was very, very important to me. But it took a massive, massive turn in 2012 when my 19-year-old nephew was killed by a single punch from a 14-year-old boy. He was hit from behind, fell over, hit his head, died of blunt force trauma, which is severe brain damage. That then just all of a sudden brought loads of reality to me, like loads of different things that, you know, what is important, what is it we should put our focus on, which then threw me on the journey and put me on the path to kind of using the talent in which I've got, which is my words, which is my speaking, to kind of go into different environments, or like the schools, the colleges, the universities, prisons, to kind of go and do these talks that empower people in like different ways. Listen, I was dealing with people that had no hope, that were thinking about taking their own life, and I was getting like feedback back from people saying, because of your talk today, I was planning on taking my own life tonight. And this talk has changed things for me. So it was all about turning that negative into a positive. But, you know, it has shown me the power that someone possesses, that you possess, the power of one. It is negative and it is also positive, because that's what we're dealing with. That when we use certain words, yes, it can scare people off, and it's like, you know, spirituality and all that, like higher planes, consciousness and all that. People are like, whoa, what's going on? So it's like kind of maybe bringing it down a little bit for some people. Know your audience and what it is that you're kind of, or who it is you're talking to. And I've brought in, you know, certain terminology with like my little girls, and like we freely talk about our energy. Listen, let's look after our energy today, like good energy. Let's promote good energy, good energy, good energy. So I know that there's good and there's bad energy. Like it never ever goes anywhere. It can't disappear. It's just how you take it and how you channel it. So that's what I did. You know, in my actual behavior, like my actual actions, is I took that tragedy and I turned it into a triumph. But, you know, I know that there's the bad energy. I know that there's the good energy, and each one is powerful, but you've got to know what it is that you're dealing with. So like the power of one is massive, 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 because one person in 1 second nearly destroyed myself and my family, took us into the trenches emotionally. So that is like just one person, one action, 1 second, that punch thrown, bang, changed our lives forever, took us into the trenches. So you've got to understand just how powerful the negative is. And if someone is promoting the negative, just how strong it is. It's like the Stereophonics song, you know, it takes one tree to make 1,000 matches, but it only takes one match to burn 1,000 trees. Like that's how powerful the negative is. So you've got to understand the battle, the war, the fight that's on, to promote the good and to get the good energy going and to sustain it. But then I've also seen that, do you know what, this one, like I'm going into these places and I'm like helping people, and it was like, man, yeah, I'm doing all this. It's just coming from me. Like, I can't train people up and talk the way in which I do and get a message across in which I do and talk about my nephew and talk about the pains that come with it. Like, I was seeing this firsthand. So it then kind of kicked on, because I was helping people with their mental health and giving them like little bits of hope. Like, it went to another level when during lockdown, kind of the youngest of my two older sisters took her own life during lockdown, that I saw the importance, and again, what I could achieve and what I could do, regardless of, you know, the battle that had been put in front of me. So this is what I want people to know, just how powerful they are in whatever sense, in whatever given situation or circumstance, how powerful they are. But understand that it only takes a little bit of the negative energy, power of one thing that can derail you. You understand? So yeah, it comes from both sides, good and bad. You alone, them alone, that alone can cause a major difference in a positive or negative light. But when you are in that negative situation, just know how powerful you are. Just know how capable you are. And that's the thing, is it's like people say, don't they? Oh, well, what's the point? What's the point? I can't change anything. I can't change it. And that's why a lot of people don't do anything, is because they think, I can't change. I won't make a difference. It's just little old me. Like that's got to change. Like one of the best pictures that I've seen is like it was underwater and it's like this massive shark, but then it's like this whole school of fish that have got together, and it makes itself into a shape of another fish that's literally 10 times the size of the shark, and it's looking to eat the shark, like the shape of all the shoal of fish. So collectively and united, we can make such a difference. But it takes each one of them fish, each one of them people, each one themselves to say, do you know what? Yeah, I can make a change. Yeah, I am powerful. I can make a difference. It takes that decision.
I love that, because that's what I don't know about you guys, Andy and Mark as well. But for me, I found, because I do a lot of, you know, profile videos, live videos and that, and people are always saying to me, yeah, but what can I do? And it's like, come on, Jesus, I'm just Wendy from the pub in Essex, you know, and I stand up and I just go, no. I was very fortunate to be brought up by two parents who taught us that the law is there to protect and serve you, that no man stands above you. What do you think would be something? There's no such word as can't. Everybody's money's the same colour. All of these things, that get up, that get going, the resilience, you know, the don't be so stupid, you can do it. Sounds a bit harsh, but you know, that was what got us up and kept us, me and my sister, going. And I'm just so glad that I had two parents like that, that the only authority that ever bothered me was dad, or the threat of mum using the threat of dad as authority, you know, and that's how it should be in life, that general respect, but the knowing of who you are. I'm not saying that I didn't go through the system and I didn't react out of fear to certain things, but I rebelled against it most of the time. So it's just that power. You are powerful. And if everybody just goes, I'll do that one thing, you know, whatever it may be, from whatever it is, with it could be anything, to just standing up to a teacher who's been saying detrimental things about your child at school, or, you know, I don't know, helping someone in the street who's being oppressed by someone, or, you know, finding a way to lower your bills or stand more in your power, whatever it is. But that one little action that you take that stands you into that good energy, that means you're adding to the collective good energy, and we start moving forwards, don't we? That's the thing.
And when you do that, when people start moving into that powerful space, they start recreating themselves. You know, you become brand new in essence. You know, because it's a realization of who you truly are, and you're stepping away from those old unserving ways, especially of lack. You know, lack of self-belief, self-esteem, self-love, self-acceptance. You know, and it's realizing that you are an all-powerful, beautiful being of the Creator. You know, but going back to essence, where we touched on earlier in the conversation, I think a lot of this may well stem from grooming when we're young. You know, it's believing the stories that others project onto us about who we are, because we've done something in a particular way that doesn't suit them or they agree with. So, you know, it's this, you know, if that person is a more forceful nature, especially if you're dealing with someone with a narcissistic personality trait, someone that's of a darker mindset, let's just say, and they're enforcing those false values onto people. Yeah. When you're in childhood and, as we say, young adulthood, it's hard to shake off all of those negative beliefs and non-serving ways, because they fundamentally become a part of your own belief system about who you are, because you've been trained to believe or groomed to believe that's true. So the healing aspects of it, like I say, when you step through and start empowering yourself and allowing yourself to believe that you are worthy, believe that you are so loved, believe that you're so accepted by all around you, because you accept yourself. When you accept yourself, the opinions of others doesn't matter. You then engage in conversation and different thought patterns, and that's how we all work together. We come to a commonality, because we all come from different spaces and places, and we've all had different positive and negative experiences, but it's pulling those spaces into that empowered space then, and using that together as a collective. Yeah. And so, stepping through the negativity, chucking away all of the old rubbish. It's just nonsense. None of it's true. It's only true if you hold on to it.
Massively. Yeah. There's someone I know said to me a couple of days ago, and this was really poignant, and I said to them, you can pack that shit up straight away. Mm-hmm. And it was this particular statement: I'm not as smart as you. I'm not as intelligent as you. And I just said, you can stop that straight away. Intelligence is not measured by what I know based on what you know.
No.
And this is what the education system does, because this person in particular, they have skill sets that I don't have, and what they do in my life to help me get out of myself and learn more about me, that's a skill set that I don't have, because I'm quite introverted in certain ways. They're extremely extroverted. So, totally different maps of reality. But their view is, because they were always told out of their siblings, they were not the smart one. They're more intelligent than you. They're doing better in their exams than you. So this person developed this idea that they're not smart, but they're one of the, spending so much time with this person, they're one of the smartest people I know. They just don't see it within themselves, because they're comparing against someone else's range of knowledge.
Yeah, but also, when do you know what? The last 3 years, right? This last 3 year, this whole 3 year session of people watching, right? That I've kind of looked at it as this social experiment, this people watching that I've done. It's like I've seen some of the most intelligent academic people absolutely duped. I've seen them get done up like a kipper with what's going on. But yeah, I've seen people who are not the most academic, who haven't got a high IQ, with the good old-fashioned God-given common sense, have said, do you know what? I don't like that, and they've been proved right. They've been proved 100% correct. So yeah, it's the pressure that we put on ourselves that we might not be as intelligent as you, we might not be, but that's just coming from a place of self-doubt, with low self-esteem, no confidence. But it's but then when you look at intelligent people, when you look at these people who have got a high IQ, that have been done up like a kipper, that followed orders, that followed the grooming, that followed all this stuff, that should give you reassurance, that some of the top class people got absolutely striped up.
Don't know about you guys throughout your life experiences, and I'm going to come to you in a moment, but what I've also found with certificates, my room is filled with certificates, and a lot of them I've got just for the simple fact that someone will say to me, have you got an RQF level 3 in training and education? No. Do I need one? You need one to work for this company. Right, I should go and get one. So I'll go away and do it and come back. But it's more the fact of people think certification and learning is what makes you intelligent and good at your job. It doesn't. It's the application of it. So for me, it's when I look at, I'm trying not to go into the realms of comparing and caning people, but I've met throughout my PTSD trauma work, with all the stuff I do within the psychology realm, I've met people that have certificates coming out of their backside and degrees that couldn't have a conversation with me about trauma because they've never had any physical experience of it, and they've not actually ever got anybody off of the drugs that they're on and worked with them in real time to do that. Do you know what I mean? So it's that practical application of something not
Yep.
the certificate you've got on the wall. That means nothing. That's just someone's opinion. This is the way I look at all education. It's someone's opinion of what they think you should learn to be intelligent.
Yeah. And psychiatry is a classic one for that for me, because if you guys are aware of it, I mean, psychiatry as a medical skill, whatever discipline, whatever you would call that, it was created by 9 blokes sitting down agreeing to come up with a way to make some money, basically messing with people's heads. You know, there's no scientific, you know, I'll probably get cut alive by psychiatrists. And don't get me wrong, there's some blinding people out there that are very, very good at what they do. There's some fantastic people that help people. That's what they're there for. They're living a life of service, trying to help others. You know, but there's certain aspects that what we believe to be true as a fundamental aspect of how we can heal people. A lot of that is a misnomer and a lie, or a misconception. You know, not everything we believe to be true as a healing modality is true. You know, the essence of it, again, to take away the qualification, take away the certificate, take away the label of that occupation, put me the person in front of me and saying, what are you doing to help people and how are you doing it? And they're doing it, and then love to them.
Results.
Because
it's results.
It's the results. It's forget the labels, forget certificates. It's about the innate intelligence and the well-being of what you use as your gifts to help others. And whether you're, and like, again, should we use that word again? Smart enough to realise sometimes you can't help all people.
I find it hard to use that word now, because now I remember smart means getting smacked.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you dummy there, mate. You dummy with that word.
Yeah, we're going to have to change the old vocab around that. So
Cleverer.
So cleverer, that's it. We'll use it.
Cleverer.
My mum said to me, that's not grammatically correct, Wendy. There's no such word as cleverer, but we've just invented it. So Andy, you're wandering into sort of becoming more aware and, you know, standing back in your power, because your website is actually in your power. Which I
mean, my journey is completely different to a lot of people. I mean, I woke up literally, if you want to use the word spiritually, I woke up in, was it 2020? I always knew things were different. I've always questioned things. When 9/11 happened, I sat there when I was working at the airport, how'd that happen? I went, it's a tin can, how's that going to go straight through? And even the pilots were asking questions, and that I've always asked questions. I was always classed as, I mean, we talked about going down the road of the grooming. Yeah, I was groomed. I was told I was useless. I was black sheep of the family. You get all those for all the time throughout your, not just your own family, but your friends and everything else. So when it came through to 2019, what happened there, I really started questioning. I think for me, it was when my ex-wife turned around and said, "Oh, we're all going to die." I went, "Yeah, someday." She said, "No, we're all going to die from a virus." I went, that's when I started really questioning. I said, "No, you're not." She said, "Yeah." I said, "No, you're not. Can't catch a virus." But anyway, so for me, spiritual ways, I had to go through a really dark, negative period. I'm not going to dwell on it or anything like that, but I tried to take my own life in 2020. But something stopped me and wouldn't let me go. And then I started waking up to the energies around us. And I'm still on a journey of asking questions about myself, because I am standing in my power, but I still don't know what my power is, if that makes sense. I know I'm coming from a heart-centered space, and I think this is where I'm trying to help a lot of people, is to make them aware of how powerful they really are. Because once you actually stand in your power and realize, like we said at the beginning, no man or woman has authority over another man, only that which you give away. So therefore, we have ultimate authority. We have ultimate power on what we do. But we've got to find that in ourselves. And I think it goes back to what James said. It's the power of one. It's knowing in yourself how powerful you are. And Mark said the same. And that's where we're all got to start from. We've got to start working on ourselves before we can start helping other people. And I think that's where I'm now going, is I'm now doing a lot of work on myself, but I'm also still helping others understand how powerful they are. It's a beautiful journey. But for me, it's just understanding that we are beings of light, and we just come from love. And that's one thing, how we defeat them. We defeat the dark with love and light, because they just can't deal with it. So for me,
do you know that there is no such thing as darkness? Darkness is only there from the absence of light. Darkness can never ever overpower light. If you've got a dark room and you bring in a candle, the room becomes light again. You take the light out, that's when it's dark. You can never ever have light and darkness comes and overpowers it. which is something that, yeah, you know, when I thought about it, it's like a real kind of like reassurance, a real revelation that, yeah, if you keep bringing the light, I mean, the darkness will try to overpower it, but it can't. It's just a lot of people are kind of living in that darkness, and going back to what Mark said about these people that have got all these qualifications, but they've never, you know, they've never done what it says on the tin, that they've never got people off of the drugs, right? They've never helped them. I know from doing something heart-centered and literally doing it with the best intentions that I've healed people. I know that I've helped people. Like I've helped people, you know, more with their mental state by going in literally for an hour and doing this kind of talk and doing this kind of session. Yeah. That I know a lot of psychiatrists have most probably failed to achieve in weeks of work. So yeah, it's just a real example that if you bring a light, if you bring what you're capable of to bring your light, then of course it's going to overpower the darkness. And I know that Andy has literally now, you know, from what he said, you know, I didn't know that he was thinking the same stuff as what my sister did back in 2020, where it tested people to their absolute limit, to every fiber of their being, right? That he has stood on that precipice, and I've stood there as well. I've stood in that darkness, like thinking that is the answer, that is going to be, you know, the solution, like the permanent solution to a temporary problem that we think. But once you've been there, it's like nothing else really scares you. Do you actually think that someone that has stood at that darkness thinking, I don't want to be here anymore, and I'm thinking of doing this, do you think they're then going to be scared to pay for a coffee with cash? It's like it gives you that power. Like it's like, listen, you're not going to stand in my way. It's just like so many people are frightened to do those little things because they've been groomed, because they've been so conditioned and influenced that, yeah, when you have experienced the darkness, there's not a lot that's going to take you down. And paying for a coffee with cash, man, you know, it's like you're going in there like Superman doing that stuff, you know.
But it sounds so bloody ridiculous, doesn't it? When you say it, Jamie, when you hear this stuff, this is what I always wonder about people. When you say something back and you go, I paid for a coffee with cash, you're like, what the fuck? Seriously. Like, excuse me, Django, I know you won't mind that little one slipped in there, and I'm sure listeners won't, but it does make me like that.
When you got to keep it real. You got to keep it real with an F-bomb now and again.
That was only a tiny one, little slipped in under the radar one there. But it does, you just do think like, did I honestly just say that? I paid for a coffee with cash and made them check their terms and conditions. That's when you think, like, come on, start raving bonkers. Everyone's going to start raving bonkers. Let's change. So, Django, we're going to go into Jamie's playlist next. So let's have a bit of perfect timing again, as always, with everything.
That's what we've got to do. We've got to fight the power.
A bit of public enemy and fight the power, please, if you wouldn't mind, Django.
That was funny timing. Perfect.
Funny timing, yeah. All these songs, it's funny as everything always works out how it's meant to, doesn't it, really? Oh, you're going for a pee. Yeah, I think the important part is fit, Andy. It's something that you said to me when we started working together was about the fear of the envelope. So that, like you were saying, Jamie, earlier, you know, people, they'd get that brown envelope come through the door, it lands on the mat, and then they go into a state of terror and meltdown because of a bloody envelope.
And when you separate your name from that, what's on that piece of paper, who you actually really are, that's when the fear will drop, because you only carry a name. You are not that name. Spirit is nameless. So how can we worry about it? So you create your own identity. You create what you want to do. So I am Andy, and that's all I go by. If people want to engage with is my full name, show me evidence that's who you're talking to.
That's your corporation. Jamie, I don't know if you know who Andy is and what Andy does. So Andy helps people. He's got a website called standinyourpoweruk.org, and he helps people wander through the legislation to not pull yourself out of the system, but play the system for what it is that we're not taught.
Okay.
So
is this like the straw man?
No,
yes, but I don't really go. It's linked to it, but I don't go down that road.
Yeah, it's not using.
Too many people doing that shit.
Yeah, it's knowing who you are. So I am Wendy as a living, breathing woman, but I'm also Miss Wendy Smith as my corporate identity that works in the legislative system. on my driving license, on my
okay.
Yeah, so that's Miss Wendy Smith. On all my bills, it's not to Wendy the living woman, it's Miss Wendy Smith, my corporate ID that's on the birth certificate. So when you know these things, there's certain ways that you can pay for things differently. There's certain ways that you can challenge a claim that someone makes on you from a corporation, because they're working corporation to your corporation self, not me as a living woman. So I can challenge all these claims that are coming in until they can provide proof of claim, and then I engage in it if they provide proof of claim or not, based on whether I want to consent. But the legislation system is basically based around consent being equitable. So who has clean hands in the dealing? This is fascinating. What Andy's taught me over the last couple of years has just been, it's taken me right out of a space where when I get a letter now, I go, oh, really? What now? Do you know, I'm like that when I open it. I'm not like, oh shit, it's HMRC or it's utility warehouse. It's like, oh, what these idiots got to say today? Do you know what I mean? It's
does it kind of make Starbucks look like small fry?
Yeah.
Just a walk in the park.
No, Starbucks, but that for a lot of people, see the Starbucks thing. Yeah. For a lot of people, that is like HMRC or utility warehouse for me. It's you know.
Oh the moral victory over that is exactly the same, isn't it? So it's like
100%.
For me, it's not about, none of this is about money, it's about principles. For me, it's about standing in my principles as a living woman and not being dictated to. And not being, more than fact, not being screwed over. I don't care if I pay for stuff to help society out. You know, I'm more than happy to chip my bit in. But if you're raping and pillaging me to make your pockets rich and the country is suffering for it, then we've got a problem. And I'm not going to, I would prefer to die on my feet, making a stand, than live on my knees with my arse in the air, burying my head and taking it every day. That's my motivation.
That's an image to put on your mind on a Sunday morning.
To some people, that's the upside. To some people, that tickles their pickle. To be honest,
it's not tickling my pickle, mate. That's all I can say. It's really not sort of the pickle tickling I'm after. That's the whole thing.
40 seconds to go.
Kenny, I'm just changing the way we work again, Wendy. Things are changing again because I've got so much information coming into me at the moment. I'm getting downloads on a daily basis. Do this. Oh yeah, try that. And we're changing everything again. We have to.
Yeah, I've got a session with, I think I've booked one for you Monday or Tuesday or maybe Wednesday or something, and so I've got some interesting stuff to read you that will make you laugh. I mean, it'll make you laugh at your arse, literally. Like, I'm just, when I read it, I was just like, I can't. I'm actually not. I'm going to make a session with
Kindasound Radio.
Not the arse that's in the air, taking it every day.
Going back on air. And you're live.
And we're live. Just as Jamie said something off air, you guys really need to watch this video later. So you get to hear what we chat about in the break. But I was, what was it I'd written down? I'd made a couple of notes here somewhere, but we're going all over the place. I think let's just discuss what we were talking about, actually, which is the fear of something. So what debilitates you, and actually what is the meaning behind fear? It's an interesting one because so many people suffer from, I think I said at the beginning, so I don't know if we were on air when I said it, but I have a heart coherence monitor that I put on clients when they come round, and I said to them, do you think you're stressed? And they go, no. And then I turn on the coherence monitor and it will like, woo, like off the scale. And then I'll teach them something to come out of their sympathetic into their parasympathetic nervous system, you know, and get out of stress. But fear and anxiety, I think, are two of the biggest drivers that I experience through most people I meet. So what are your just thoughts on fear? What do you do about fear? You know, just.
And it's the biggest weapon that's used against us, because when someone's in fear, false evidence appearing real. When you're in fear, you're easier to control. When you're in a state of panic and anxiety, you're easier to control. You're easier to influence. So it's one of the most horrible things to experience ourselves, but it's also the greatest weapon of the enemy to use against us. So yeah, it's a lethal combo. But when you realize that, yeah, a lot of the stuff that you're fearful of, 99% kind of doesn't happen anyway. Half of the percent 0.5% that when it does happen, it's not as bad as what you think. And then the other 0.5%, yeah, it does happen, and you deal with it accordingly. You know, you get through it, you overcome it. So yeah, when you realize that it is false evidence appearing real, you kind of look at it in a different way, and you learn to manage it. Of course, we are fearful of things. You know, from a parent's perspective, I'm fearful of the future for my babies. Like, I'm fearful, you know, and I think there is a righteous fear that you can have, and a right one that if it's channeled in the right way and used in the right way, it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you on track. It doesn't, you know, you won't rest on your laurels, because when I'm thinking about their futures, I know that I'm going to operate on a higher level. Because if I'm just thinking about myself, of course, listen, we're very, very selfish in our clandestine nature, that we just think that if something affects us, then we're not going to put in the full 100%. It's all right. It's just me that's affected. It's just me that's impacted. So when you think about other people, that's when you operate at a higher level. So I think that there is a righteous fear that when you think to yourself, listen, I'm fearful for my baby's future, which is going to make me be even more of a beast, like even more driven, even more kind of on the front foot doing stuff. That, yeah, there is a righteous fear, but there's too much of the unrighteous stuff that makes us easier to control, and it's horrendous to feel.
Yeah, I mean, righteous fear develops courage, Jamie. Right. That's right. You know, a lot of people are like, what's the book? Now I'm going to be very, very like Sunday morning politically correct, so I'm not going to be influenced by Wendy here. F the fear and do it anyway. F the fear and do it anyway, you know? Face everything and rise, my friend. Face everything and rise.
Exactly, and that's the thing. But it comes in down also to the fact that, like we say, it's the power of one. If you don't know who you are, how can you have that power and that authority around you? And that's when the fear will sneak into you and go, oh, gotcha. So when you understand that you were created by your creator, and as man and woman, you have ultimate authority, and you're only supposed to serve one master, and no one else, you don't serve anyone else, and you think, yeah, okay, I write my own I am authoring my own life, so I will create my own authority as I go. As long as I cause no harm, no loss to man or woman, my life can be brilliant. But the fear comes in is don't want to go off too topic, but comes in when it's based around the names, and when people say, oh, and we say the brown envelope comes on the floor, and people are scared because they think that's them, but it's not. It's just a name. It's a name on a piece of paper. That is not you. Spirit is nameless. We carry the name that's on a piece of paper. How can a piece of paper be you? You are individual. You're like I say, you're an authority. And it's, for me, it's a way of saying to people, just because it's got a name, is that you? And that's another word we use in our word language.
The you.
Yeah, who's you?
The you is interesting. I've had so many letters written to me by people who turn me as you, that then I end up writing back to them and say, I'm really confused now because you seem to be writing to yourself. So could you clarify who you're writing? So could you
we put a little thing in our documentation anyway, and we put the thing, I'm without knowledge, evidence, or understanding that I'm you, have been you, or ever will be you. And seeing as there are only two parties concerned, you, Mr. Smith, and Andrew Sean Barlow, are confirmed, and we conclude we are not you. We agree that you must be you, and therefore we agree you must pay. So please send the remittance to this address.
That sounds like the start of a fight from where I'm from. Oi, you. You. Got a problem with you? What do you say?
It pretty much is.
For me, it's like you say, I'm still fearful. There's still things that I get scared of. I mean, I'm not going to lie about that, but I'm dealing with it. I say, okay, I'm not going to let you come into that aura. I'm going to push my aura out again. I mean, that for me is amazing. When you get that positive state, and you think positive as much as you can, and you walk down the street, people just move around you. It's a really weird. But when you're negative, they're drawn towards you. They'll actually bump into you, whatever. And I think that's amazing how we can control our own energy. We can control our own world that's around us. So,
and I saw this saying like not too long ago, and it really resonated with me that like you will upset people. Listen, you will rub people up the wrong way. Why? Because your spirit upsets their demons. It's like you know, like what Andy just said, that it just seems to be that when the when you got the flavor, when you're in the groove, like when you're in the positivity, when you're in the light, like people like go, and then when you're in the negative one, like they're drawn to you. It's really strange, like. But yeah, your spirit upsets people's demons, and I don't think that we can ever be totally eradicate fear. Like I don't think that we can be totally fearless. Yes, we can be fearless in the things that we do, and yes, we can fear less. We can fear less things, but I don't think we will ever be kind of totally fearless. And that's where I think we need to kind of be kind to ourselves. Like people like us know the journey that we're on. We know what kind of weight we've got on our shoulders and what we're carrying, and the crusade in which we're on, and the campaigns in which we back up, and like our beliefs and where we're going in our thought process and our mind space, where we're going. We need to be kind to ourselves, because we're doing so much more than what so many other people that are just burying their heads in the sand, or don't want to know, or do know but are fearful of it. So they kind of think, well, look, if I just ignore it, it's going to go away. Yeah, when we compare it to what those people are dealing with, we've got a hell of a lot of weight on our shoulders. Like we're doing a hell of a lot. So that's where we need to be kind to ourselves. Just understand that, yeah, we'll never be totally debunked or devoid of fear. It's always there. But then again, if it is there and it's used in the right way and channeled in the right way, it can become a companion and not an adversary.
Yeah, all energy can be used and transmuted into the good. And I also think as well, everything has to have balance. So you've got, there is, like say, there's no dark without light, there is no light without dark. You've got to have some balance in there somewhere, but it's
the yin and the yin yang, isn't it? It's the yin and yang side. Like in all light there is a small element of darkness, and in all darkness there's a small element of light. There's that little dot, there's that little spot of light and darkness in each. So yeah, there has to be one. There has to be, but again, it's just how you use it, how you channel it, how you look after the good, and how you keep on track with the good, but how you fight against and how you absorb but yet channel the bad. That's what it's all about, because it's all around us. And I'm not, listen, I'm not afraid to use certain terminology around people. Like I do say to them, like, you do realize we're involved in a spiritual battle, right? There's things that are going on. There are things that are going on at a higher plane. Like you will say the higher plane. A higher state of consciousness. But yeah, it says here in the Bible that we do not battle against flesh and blood. We battle against the demonic energies in the heavenly realm, meaning that there is that bad energy up in a higher realm, up in the higher state of consciousness. So it's just a different way of saying what is. And it's like I freely say that to people. And yes, it can freak people out, but I'm saying, like, listen, there's energy around you. There's energy. People love that energy. People want to gain that energy. They want to absorb that energy. They want to harvest that energy. And there's the reason why there's things that they are. Nothing is by coincidence. It's all by plan. It's all by design. So they want to harvest this energy because it's a very precious commodity. It's a very precious resource. It gives you that power. It's a very powerful fuel. So make no mistake that we are battling against things that are unseen, and it can freak people out. Let me tell you, but I'm not afraid to speak that way. So people can take it if they want. Take it if they want.
I'll tell you what I love about what you've just said, actually, is the fact that your energy is what is the biggest commodity we have as a being. It is our energy.
Yeah.
That is it. Your energy is your biggest commodity. It's not what you know, what you've learned, what you've got certificates in, what you wear, what car you drive, what house you got. Yeah. The biggest commodity that people feed off of is your energy. Yeah. That I've got a little experiment. A friend of mine, Tanya Collins, her name is. She had, the dowsing rods, and we were messing about with that. And she said to me, she stood about 10 foot away from me with these dowsing rods, and they were just pointing at me. She said, imagine your energy field coming out and touching these dowsing rods, right? So all I did was close my eyes, and I just imagined my egg of energy going out. And then all of a sudden, the rods just crossed like that. And it was like, wow, is that my energy field out there? She went, yeah. Now imagine your energy field shrinking right back into you. So it's only a foot away from your body. And the rods, as I imagined it shrinking away from her, the rods just went back out to straight in front. And then she started walking towards me, and literally if you know dowsing rods, you don't hold these things, they just spin about in your hands. And literally as she got a foot in front of me, they crossed over. So the power of your intention as well, and I think this is where it's getting people to really get a grip of this in their heads. The power of your intention can create a shift in the energetic reality. So what are you putting out there as an intention?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I know that. Listen, I'm going to be going out there like Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter 2, throwing like Hadouken balls at everyone. Now I know that is possible. Like, so, man, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
My
all by
absolute
plan
pleasure.
and all by design.
And on that one, we're going to wander into Naughty by Nature, please, Django, with Everything's Going to Be All Right. Just because I need to leg it to the loo, so just amuse yourself. 2 minutes. Have I caught Django? Have we gone off air, Django? Is he there? Or have we got talking?
Perhaps Django's gone to the loo.
I think we might have just lost Django because he thought we were. I've no idea if we're on air or off air at the moment. So we'll carry on the conversation. Django!
Oh, sorry. I'm here.
Can we go Naughty by Nature? Everything is going to be all right.
Sure thing. Here we go.
Thank you.
Of course, not a problem. You should have asked.
Not a problem. You just out, you thought they'd change.
So all you had to do was ask, and I would have
I'll be
played.
back in a sec.
Okay, I'll go to the waiting room.
I'm just going to go for a comfort break. Won't be so.
I'm afraid there is no father, sir.
Another ghetto bastard.
And then there was two.
It's just me and you, bro. Just me and you, bro.
I ran down the stairs to quickly check something and then ran back up. And as I was coming back up, I realized I was summoned. You'll sit in your chair for an hour, and the minute you get up is when you'll be summoned.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? And it goes to a whole nother level when you have children as well. Everything that you do, they can be quiet for an hour.
Yes.
You'll go to the toilet. That's when they say, Dad, Dad, Dad. Or it's unreal. It's unreal. You will ask them a million times, do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? Do you want that? No, I'm fine. You will sit down. Oh, Dad, I fancy it now. Oh, Dad, I've just broken this. Oh, Dad, can you get me that? So yeah, it goes to a whole nother level with the kids, right?
I'm sure, man. I've got a little 5-year-old brother. So at one stage, I was doing my own like YouTube live stream, and literally we have power outages. So the power had been out, so I had a shave and I did all this stuff and got ready and then sat down. The family comes home. I was 9 minutes into what was going to be like an hour at least. And he comes in, oh, we need the Wi-Fi. Just yanks it out. Just like, oh my God. Couldn't even say goodbye. Oh.
Oh my goodness, like, you've got a little 5-year-old brother then, Django, have you?
I do. My father's side, he's in his 50s, has a 5-year-old, and then my mother has an 18-year-old. So I've got two younger brothers.
Dad, then glutton for punishment, going back into the trenches. Each one, son.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and he's a little dynamo as well. He wants like loads of attention. You know, look at me, and then project. You know, but at least he's good. Like he wants to build things and fix things and make dodgy looking like little tables and all sorts of things. So.
And that's the thing, right? There's
beautiful.
Loads of stuff that children do, right? That us as adults who we see as an inconvenience, and we just want convenience, we want rest, that we ourselves kind of like bang that out of them, right? People bang that creativity out of them, and we kind of take that away, and we kind of influence them as well. You know, I'm not talking about like us as a collective, but you know, adults in general can really do that to their own children, right? I'm not just talking about the educational system. It's like adults can do it to their own children as well, because they can't be bothered to engage and just because they want it quiet time, they want to chill, they want Netflix and chill, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they limit his screen time heavily, and it's amazing. Even as an older brother, you know, I was watching this amazing YouTube channel, like a lot of enlightening stuff that is explained very well, where I thought this would be great for kids, but then he just launches into a sponsored ad read. And I'm like, how do I contextualize this to a 5-year-old? You know, my main recourse at that age would actually just be to edit the stuff out. like download the video, edit all that stuff out, because I know from my own upbringing what that does to you, and what that did to siblings of, they're talking in literal slogans of these corporations.
Yeah.
You think it doesn't affect you, but it does. And
mate, it's massive indoctrination. It's like it just seems to be in kids' DNA as well. Like the yellow M is just like ingrained in their DNA. Like it doesn't matter what. It's just like, so I'm just using that as like an example, but I mean everybody knows what the yellow M is. So it's it goes to show what an influence we've it's had on us, but to them it just seems to be in their DNA. Like
right, we're going back on air shortly.
Lovely. We play some videos
and you're live.
And welcome back to Kindasound on Reality Bites this morning. No, Reality Bites on Kindasound. There we go. That was confusing. We've all just legged it off and had a quick comfort break. So Django's just disappeared. It's nice to have our producer jumped on the video stream then for a bit, which is lovely to see him. We were just discussing, actually, which is probably a nice sort of segment to finish off the show this morning. Well, we're going to go through other stuff, but influencing. So you were talking about like children and how children are influenced with everything around them, Jamie, when we were off air, and Django was talking about that as well. But how can we be the best influencers? So first of all, let's cover part one of that. So, what influences do you see at the moment that are having a negative impact on our kids and ourselves, really, but more the kids, because they're our next generation? And then what can we do to become influencers to help everybody, not just the children, move forwards? So, Mark, what's your opinion on that?
We can start with me on that one, right? With the children, like influences, right? Interesting one, because there's so many out there in the world at the moment, especially over the last 3 years. I don't know how touchy we want to get on certain subjects here, but I will refer back to a word we all collectively agreed on earlier, and that will be grooming. And I think there's probably aspects in what's going on in the world at the moment that's been shown to us. Whether how much of a truth that is, where I don't know, because I've not physically experienced it. I do not have children and go into schools, but this whole new attitude of the wokeism and the way that's affecting children, and how that's sort of directing their consciousness in a way that's disempowering them to disbelieve who they are, to even sort of question their sexuality at a young age, all that sort of stuff. To me, that's something that should be well and truly left alone until a child develops at their own age. But that's my personal perspective. How can we change that? I think the only way we can do that is to be honest around our children. It's going to go back to acceptance about everyone can be who they are, and that's fine. But to detach away from that everything is acceptable in the whole public arena. Some things should be kept private and personal. We seem to live in this time. It's like the old days of Rome, really, where the sexuality is rife, the questioning. I like these orgies, all this nonsense of stuff that's going on, all of this Baphomet projectionism from different faiths and religions that don't hold light. All of these influences around children with the dogmatic programming through TV, through internet. How do we change that? To me, it's a very, very big question. I think we can only change that, by being who we are generally as ourselves, and noticing what's going on around our environment personally. As much as we empower ourselves, we empower the people around us, especially the children that we love so dearly. And the only way we can influence that is to be completely objective about what we allow into their consciousness that is going to be, serving them or non-serving for them. And it is a sort of a grey line, because, like I did touch on acceptance and how all people are divine and that here to be who they are. So it's a case of accepting those people, but for them to accept themselves, that not all is to be projected onto the young ones. To me, children should be children. We were lucky, us lot. We grew up in the 70s and 80s as young kids. We were running riot, riding bikes, climbing walls, climbing trees, disappear for hours down the park, driving mad nuts, which is screaming for your dinner. You know, we had that freedom, you know, we had that freedom of mind, freedom of expression, the connection with nature, earthing ourselves, you know, running bare feet in the grass, you know, just playing with massive groups of kids all through the summer holidays. You know, to me, the influence can come then in giving those kids some vision about stuff that really, really benefits them going on into the future, life skills. You know, from my personal experience, when I was a youngster, I went through the Cub Scout and the Scout movement. You know, when I left the Scouts, I became a leader for a short while before I left the police force as a young man. And to me, it's, I'm not saying that's for everybody, but the foundational skills of those type of organisations I found very, very benefiting for me all through my life, really. It taught me a lot about nature, a lot about grounding, about respect, about kindness, help, service, you know. So
I'll be finished in 10 minutes.
Influencing children, I think it's just, what have we learned? What are the best aspects of who we are as individuals, and what is it we can share with those children and the people in the, around us that can help them grow and find more light in their lives? And then if there's anything we can do in that process that can remove some of those, you know, like Jamie said, there's, you know, darkness is just something devoid of light. So if we can just go in, it's just a little pinprick in someone's life when they're in a little bit of an uncertain place, or not sure where to look, or they've been influenced in unserving ways, then it's for us to shine that light and encourage them into a direction that can be very, very fulfilling, loving, and give them the best possible future in life going forward.
I think for myself, it's helping them connect back into their moral compass.
Yeah.
Lost, you know, we all have this moral compass on the inside that when you tune back into yourself, you know right from wrong. You know, this inverted reality that we're looking at, where you have what they call moral relativity. So what that means for the listeners, it basically means something's illegal in that state over here, over there, but over here you can do it. And over there you can wear that and you can call that person that over there, but over here you can't do it, you get locked in prison for it. And what that is done, it's to confuse you. It's to confuse your moral compass. So you don't know up, down, left, right, what's right, wrong. But you all know what's right and wrong fundamentally on the inside when you really do tune in. So I think it's getting back to that, you know, really teaching kids about the moral compass. Having a look yourself first inside, and if you've got kids, are you tuned into your moral compass? To even know what that means, you know, or are you just blindly following? Andy, what's your thoughts on influence?
I echo everything that Mark said. At the end of the day, from when I grew up, we were allowed to be children. My mum was a police officer. He'd kick us out of the house and some holidays. So off you go. There's your sandwich. Don't come back till the street lights are on. And we'd go off on our push bikes. We'd go cause mayhem everywhere. We'd have fun. Like I say, at that point, I didn't know about the grounding, but we'd be running across the beach in our bare feet. We'd be climbing trees, falling out of trees, etc., etc. But it comes down to, like you say, the moral compass, because my man always said, don't do anything that you wouldn't do to others. He says, so always look after yourself. And I think that's when I realised I always treated everybody differently to others. And other people go and pop someone on the nose because they didn't like them. Me, I would say, boo, I'm the peacekeeper. I'm just going to walk in and explain to you what you shouldn't be doing. And I think that's where it's gone wrong, because, like you say, it is like Baphomet and all this lot that's going on at the moment. Is you've got stuff going on over there that they claim is legal, stuff like that. But we've got to get right back to thinking internally, does it feel right to be doing that? I mean, I'm learning to trust my inner instinct, my gut. If I don't feel right, I don't do it. So I think it's where we've got to teach young ones and how to listen to themselves and say, if you get that butterfly feeling in your stomach, is it telling you something? Is it trying to explain to you? Be aware of what's going on around you. Does it feel right to go and jump off a cliff? No, of course it doesn't. And one man always used to say as well, was if everybody jumped off the cliff at the same time because they said it was a good idea, would you follow them? No. He said, you've got to be that individual. You've got to be that one. And that goes back to what Jamie was saying and what Mark was saying. If you don't know internally who you are, then you are just going to follow the pack, and your moral compass will go, because you'll just think, yeah, I'm going to do it because it's a good idea to do it. Stand out, be that beacon of light, and just say, I am more powerful than anyone else can ever know, and I'm standing by my own morals.
And it's not from a sense of ego, is it? This is the whole thing that's been manipulated and inverted and twisted, is that when you stand in that space of, you know, I am, the power of I, the me, that people say, oh, you're getting too big for your boots, don't be so big-headed. And it's not. It has to come from that if we all stood in our own light and showed people our own potential, we give people permission to then experience theirs. But we've got to break through that old conditioning, the old grooming, which says that you can't do that because someone will feel bad. So this, you know, if you've sprinted and won a race, you've got first place. There's not 8 of you that won that race. There's one person that's run it. Celebrate the win and ask the person who won, how did you do that?
Yeah.
What made you so strong? What do you do on a daily basis?
Someone sent me a brilliant quote the other day, and I thought it summed it up. And they were like, everyone thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing themselves. However, if everyone changed themselves, we would change the world.
Yeah.
And I think it's just so true. And it is, but I look at the way society's gone. It's all about creating division. It's about, I mean, look how they divide us between colour of skin and all this. Look how they divide us with religion. Look how they divide us with everything else. That for me is by the by. I don't see colour. I don't see religion. We are just one. We come together and we work together. We are the internet of the universe. The minute we start intrinsically linking and connecting to each other, it's game over for them. That's where I look at it.
That's a beautiful way of putting it as well, Andy, because it's just imagine we're all bytes inside a computer. And each one of us is a little bit of information on that computer system, that once that computer system is defragged, clean, and all of the old crap thrown away, you boot it up, you process, and it runs like a smooth machine, and it'll do whatever we want. And as a collective, if we can absolutely bring that into our collective existence, then that's how we do it. You know, that was a point I was sort of trying to touch on earlier in the day. Again, it's about the thought creation mode. You know, what do we believe outside of just the personal inner self? If I join my inner self with that collective network of all these other little energy nodes, human beings all around the world, yeah, and how many of us feel that way? How many of us want this reality to come in? What is it we can do? You know, how do I turn up my inner light? How do I be my best experience to share? So I can put my best processing power into that computer, so it joins all the other little processors that then become this massive hard drive that create a wonderful reality that we can all experience.
Jamie?
I go back to 3 years ago, and it was a statement that was made that did put fear in me, right? And it's one of them that it should put fear into every human being with a moral compass, right? And it is a statement that should kick people up the backside and kind of force them into action. And it was all about like I know that certain things were put on certain people, and you could see the way in which they worked it, because they came in subtly that this is about you, but the statement was, they are coming after your kids. They are coming after your kids. That should put the fear and ignite a fire in any person with a moral compass, that in any shape, way or form, physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, spiritually, if they are coming after your kids, then that should ignite the fire for every person to stand up and become the lion or lioness that is within you, instead of being this little kitten and just rolling over and being tickled, right? So this for me, that's how I want to start off, right? People need to know what it is that we're up against. They are coming after our kids, and listen, it's evident of what's going on here and now, that they are coming after them in so many different ways, because when you stop fighting for the kids, and for kids who have no hope, if you stop fighting for them, they will just continue to have no hope, and they will be hopeless. And then that will create a future generation of a zombie nation. Let's say just weak, meek, like future generations. That's what it's going to create. So that's what we're up against. But that should force anybody, whether you're fearful of stuff, it doesn't matter how big you are, how tall, how short, how strong. Listen, it doesn't matter who you are. To stand up for your kids and roar like a lion or a lioness is what it should be, when that is literally evident. Because I see people's moral compass literally gone out the window. Like there's so much that we're dealing with now that you could look at back in the day. And it's right what Mark said. We were lucky. We were the last ones. We were like the last few to experience life how it should have been. how it should have been in all its in its pureness and just its basicness. And this is what we have to do, right? There's nothing big, extravagant, or elaborate that we have to do. We have to go back to basics in order to fix this, because back then, our nans and our granddads and our great nans and our great grandads used to do, mums and our dads used to do stuff. It wasn't broke, so don't fix it. So that basics still lives, still works in this very technological age. Like, there's a reason why now they're having to bring out adult coloring books in order to deal with anxiety. Like, this is stuff that we used to do on a daily basis, regular basis, sit down there with a packet of felt pens and a coloring book and do it. But now it's just all technology, all engagement, all continued stimulation, and it's damaging. But then you go to the parents that see it as convenience. It gives them chill time. It keeps the kids quiet. Listen, I don't want my kids to be quiet. I want them to be like me. I want them to raise their voice like a trumpet, as it says in the book of Isaiah. So when the people's moral compass goes, guess what? Society kind of goes wrong. And it is getting to the point now, and I will go back biblically to the place of Sodom and Gomorrah. Listen, we're not far off this place, because as Mark was saying, with like people's sexual activity, with what they deem to be correct, with what they deem to be morally correct, what they deem to be acceptable, boundaries are blurred, like lines are gone. Yeah, you can do it over there, so let's go over there and do it because we can't do it. No. It should just be, if it's wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter whether you're here or there. You shouldn't do it anyway. And that's how society is going. Why? Because we're taking too much of the salt away, the preservative, and the meat of society will start rotting. And we've forgotten what the salt is. We've forgotten what the preservative is. And that's us being good people. That's us helping each other. That's us being the best version of ourselves. Like the analogy of the plane crash, like when the plane is going down and the cabin pressure goes down, the oxygen mask come down. What do they say? It doesn't matter who you're with. It doesn't matter whether you're with elderly grandparents, mum or dad. It doesn't matter whether you're with your own children that you would give your life for. Like, it doesn't matter. You put your own oxygen mask on first, because that's how you become the best benefit to the people that you love, adore, and care about. So when you work on yourself, that's when things change. It's just people see working on yourself as a luxury and not a necessity. They wouldn't think twice about spending $4,000 on a Caribbean cruise where they forget about their problems for 2 weeks. But guess what? As soon as they come back, their problems, their insecurities, their challenges, their tests are waiting for them in the dock. Or if they've taken a plane somewhere, as soon as they touch down on the tarmac back at Heathrow, Gatwick, Cardiff, Bristol, Liverpool, wherever, their problems, their tests, and their challenges are waiting for them. They wouldn't spend half of that money on self-development. They wouldn't spend half of that money on improving themselves. It doesn't even come into their conscious. It doesn't even come into their thought process. So that's what we're dealing with. And yeah, it's a massive battle. But just to kind of bring it in and to kind of shock people in so many ways, they are coming after your kids. What are you prepared to do to fight back? But for not you, like a lot of people say, listen, you can say what you want about me, you can do what you want to me, but if you touch my kids, oh, that's it, it's a different ballgame. Well, guess what? They're coming. They're trying to groom your kids in many different ways. I'm not talking about a paedophile, but I am talking about in many different ways. They are grooming your kids. They're hurting your kids. They're damaging your kids. They're confusing your kids. What are you prepared to do to stand up and say and show your moral compass and say that's wrong and I'm going to stand up for my kids? Challenge given out. Is it challenge accepted?
Yeah, and that is the whole fundamental aspect of everything, isn't it? It's the, like you say, when they're coming for them, it's emotionally, spiritually, mentally, psychologically, physically. It's on all different levels at the moment, coming in like a wave. And I have no children. One thing I really care about though is children and what happens to them. That's why I work in.
That's right. You don't have to have children to care about children. And this is the thing, there are people out here in the world that are fighting harder for your kids than what you are. How does that make you feel? Because this is the thing, right? It's not something that I will say lightly, because I think like it's horrendous. But listen, you need to step up to the plate, and people do need to man up, right? They do need to get a backbone. They do need to get that stuff connected to this, because they're coming for your kids. It's just there are people out there that are fighting harder for your kids than what you are. How does that make you feel? How does that, go on, have a word with yourself in the mirror. See how that makes you feel, that there's people fighting harder for your own children than what you are.
Perfect. And we're going to just wander into, I don't know if this song is called Midnight or The Hanging Tree.
It's both.
but literally
The hanging tree at midnight.
The hanging tree at midnight, but perfectly ties into that conversation we just had. Django, would you please give us a bit of Midnight at the Hanging Tree, please?
Cool, you're off air.
Lovely job, guys. Well, we've got 10 minutes left, so I'm going to suggest that we go into your own thoughts now, however you want to finish for the last final thoughts.
A thought of mine today is I don't know who's playing the music, whether it's Django or Bruno Mars. I'm not too sure.
It does look a little bit like Bruno Mars.
Go on, bro.
Or Bruno Mars looks a little bit like Django.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You never see the two in the same room, do you? You never see them. Nah.
No, don't. I'm not going to touch on the subject. I'm not going to touch on the
That's a
subject.
new one. I've never been compared to him before.
But yeah, listen. Let these two gentlemen get their thoughts across. And if I have 30 seconds or if anything at all at the end, then it's all cool. Like I know that I kind of go off on one. So let these two kind of get their thoughts across.
Jamie, I can listen to you all day long, brother. Don't worry about that.
Oh, bless you. Oh, you get me all emotional now.
Don't start crying shit on here. No, you can cry as much as you want. We can be as emotional as we like. It's nice to have little points like that of hitting across, because it's, sometimes I think, how do you actually, what would stimulate someone into actually wanting to take any form of action? Whether it's saying no to 15-minute cities by not paying fines and, taking cameras down, or whether it's, writing into the government about the roll dial books and not being able to call a tractor black. So it's not a black tractor anymore. It's the one that's in between. I mean, what I just, oh, fuck off. And it's just like not being able to say in his books, he calls people fat. You can call him enormous now, but not fat.
When? Go into the Black Law Dictionary, right, and look up the definition.
You can't say that word. Don't call it that. It's the colour that cannot be named.
You know the colour that isn't a colour because it's so dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go and look in the lots. It's so dark. Law Dictionary. Yeah. Look up the definition of that. It's that word. That means it's very dark.
Oh, okay, I will do. So I have it on my laptop. So
you'll find that quite enlightening, and that's a bit of another inversion for you as well.
Yeah. It's the divide and conquer thing again, isn't it? But to a ridiculous nature. You're talking about an inanimate object.
Jamie, I'll just jump on you, Jamie, just for a second, not literally, of course. Just touching on what you were saying beforehand in your last talk, yeah? You know what? The foundation of all of that, because it started around that fear subject, what you're going to do in it. And now the absolute foundation underneath that unpins it, mate. What I like is love.
Kindasound radio.
Yeah, that's the light that you bring to the darkness. The love, it conquers all. The greatest.
Going back on air.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're live.
And welcome back to the final part of Reality Bites on Count. I nearly said, I don't know what I was going to call it. kind of sound dog this morning. So it's a good job this wasn't yesterday, because I couldn't actually speak English yesterday. I had such a weird head. I couldn't function like linguistically. It was quite funny. So we're just going to finish off this morning with some final thoughts now. So Andy, final thoughts for all of our lovely listeners this morning. What just popped into your head that you'd like to share?
Who's making the tea? That's what's popped in my head. No, I mean, obviously we've gone off on the various areas, but for me, it's about learning who you are. Understand that you are on this planet, realm, whatever you want to call it, for a reason. You don't have to do anything. Let me put that straight. But we have a journey. We have this journey of bringing people together. So for me, it's basis of become the most powerful person or man or woman you can ever be in your life. Radiate love from everything you do, because that is the most important thing for me at the moment. Is I'm coming from the heart space. Everything I do, no ego. The ego's there. It has to help me for some point. I get it. But if I could give you one piece for today, is learn the words I am, because they are very powerful words, and put words after I am powerful, I am amazing. you start putting those together, you will soon realize how powerful you actually are. And that fear is designed to actually keep your light down, to keep your, it's like on a dimmer switch. So they've turned your dimmer switch down. So they want, but now it's time to whack that dimmer switch up and shine bright. Just really shine bright, everyone.
Beautiful. Shine it bright from the inside out and just show the others the way. Mark, final thoughts from you?
Final thoughts from me, my beautiful people of the world, is I think at the moment, and I know, Wendy, I know you definitely do, and I see it in you guys, but we just live in an incredible time at the moment. And to me, it's all about perception in your own. We've spoken enough about awareness, about how you vibrate, how you are. Now, why do I say it's exciting times? Because to me, we're living in the first time in history when all is there to be seen, to be healed. Yeah. And that is not only outside of us in the collective experience of the world that we all perceive together, but it's the inside stuff that we have. There is so much that we can do at the moment. And it's working in that loving space of self-acceptance. Yeah. And if you're struggling, to use the God gifts we have around us, nature, sunshine, good food, the love of our friends, the freedom of expression, balancing your emotions if you're uncertain, to talk to people, to use the guidance around you, to search for your own truths in your life that provide the best experience for you and all of those around you. And just be in that heartfelt space and know that you're always loved.
I like that. Jamie, 2 minutes of final thoughts from you, my friend.
Well, I do it in my best Jerry Springer voice, right? No, well, I want to echo what Andy has said, because it's emblazoned behind him. I am just very, very quickly why it's important to me, because when my nephew was in the intensive care unit and they said that they couldn't do anything more for him, I held his head, I held his hand, kissed his forehead, and whispered into his ear, "Connor, I am going to look after your family as best I can. I won't let them fall. People will know your name, because I am is a promise." Right? It's a verbal promise. It's a verbal contract in which you enter into. It's a verbal statement, a verbal declaration, right? So I am going to do this. I am going to better myself. I am going. And if you put a positive at the end and you back it up with your actions, then you'll see your life change in a positive way. And if you do it negatively, then you'll see your life going in another way. But yeah, because it's a promise, because I do those talks and I mention Connor's name and I talk about, like, I'm keeping that promise, right? So the only promise that I can make to you is that other people will break their promises to you in life, right? So don't go adding to that pile of broken promises by breaking the promise to yourself. So whatever you put after I am will determine where you get to in life, and indeed what it is you do and you accomplish. So when you make it, I am and then put a promise after it, make sure you back it up with your actions, because that's when you will see change. It's just that too many people saying that I am not good enough, I am not capable of change, I am not important enough. And if you are saying that and you're believing that, then of course it's going to be. But when you make that promise, you keep it, then amazing things happen. Like I keep that promise to my nephew. I wish I didn't have to keep that promise, but it's a promise that I made. It's a promise that I'm keeping, and change is being made. So like the proof's in the pudding. It's not hard. Sorry, it is hard. It's not easy, but oh my goodness, it's worth it. So just make yourself a promise today, whatever that may be, and keep it and see the results. See what can happen when you say that I am good enough. I am worthy enough. I am important enough, and I am going to accomplish this. But the first and foremost is you just have to get up and do. I am just going to get up and make a stand for my kids. It's easy. Then you will see the change.
I love that. Just I am. It's a powerful promise. Love that. I've loved this conversation with you guys today. I really, really have. I just want to thank you.
It's gone quick though, isn't it? It's gone fast, the 2 hours.
We should have done a 5-hour session for Django. He would have loved that. But we will all be back at some point. Well, I really do hope that the listeners as well have enjoyed everything. If you've got any comments, send them through to Kindasound. Us guys, we're always happy to answer your questions. And I just want to reiterate that. Just make that promise to yourself. The I am, whatever it is today, make it a positive and do something. The action will make the difference. So thank you to all the listeners. I love you guys to the bottom of my heart. Thank you boys for being here with me today. Thoroughly appreciate it.
Honoured, pleasure.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you, Django. Thank you, Django, as well, for producing as always. And I shall just let you play out, Django, with Zion by Fluke, please, if you wouldn't mind.
Lovely stuff. You're off air.
Beautiful, guys. Thank you so much for that.
No,
That was really good.
Very
Really,
much.
really enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that.
Basically. I can't believe that's 2 hours. It feels like an hour
Ah,
show.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bounced through.
Very nice.
Yeah, we'll have another one at some point because I've enjoyed that this morning. It's been nice to have like
Yeah.
multiple channels.
I know it can be quite daunting for people, can't it? Do you know, seeing like a talk or a video program that's like 2 hours long, and then you think, oh, but I just think people would get so much from that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they will do when they get the extras as well. Oh, what I'll do is this will download now. If I just stop this now, hang on.